Okay, the way I would like to see healthcare fashioned is in a way that would put the responsibility in the hands of the patient and the healthcare provider. What do you need for good healthcare? You need a patient and you need a healthcare provider. Along came the middleman to facilitate the relationship, and now the middleman is the primary entity with the patient and the healthcare provider at its beck and call. That doesn't make any sense. What I'd like to see is a system where we have health savings accounts. Everybody in America has a health savings account. It can be populated with $2,000 every year. If you don't use it, it just continues to accumulate. And a third of it has to be designated for catastrophic or bridge insurance. And you give people the ability to shift funds within a family. So if one member of the family needs a little more, other members of the family can shift some of theirs to that individual. It makes every family their own insurance company, provides an enormous amount of flexibility, and when you die, you can pass it on to a family member. That would give us an enormous amount of flexibility because 80% of the encounters are going to be handled through the health savings account. You don't have a big burden on your major medical and your catastrophic insurance. So the cost of that will plummet. Makes it much easier to acquire, and I would make that something that you could acquire from any place in the country, any place in the world if they met our insurance standards. Bring it into the free market. That makes it work much better. It has to incorporate tort reform. You have to have electronic medical records, but I would embed them in a microchip that the patient can keep rather than have them floating in cyberspace, because I think people's medical information is much too private, too important to be floating around in cyberspace. Those are some of the major components of the program, and I think that could be done for considerably less money than we're spending. Even if the government populates everyone's health savings account, you know, all 315 million of us with $2,000 a year, that's $630 billion. That's not a whole lot compared to what we're spending now, and everybody would have health care. And you could always add more to it on your own. Your employer could add to it. Anybody could add it onto it, but everybody would have basic care. And that's what we're trying to do.
Change begins with immediately repealing and replacing the disaster known as Obamacare. With Obamacare, premiums are surging, companies are leaving, insurers are fleeing, doctors are quitting, and deductibles are going right through the roof. We can repeal and replace Obamacare and save health care for every family in Michigan and throughout the United States of America. We have to do it.
All right, that is now President-elect Donald Trump on the campaign trail earlier this week, promising to repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, this is an issue that has been weighing on the minds of many of the American people. Now, after it was announced, of course, that Obamacare premiums will once again skyrocket this coming year, many people will be seeing double-digit increases. So how will the president-elect, when he becomes president, repeal and replace it? Joining us now, former 2016 presidential candidate, Dr. Benjamin Carson. Dr. Carson, I read that you have been asked to be a part of this effort to repeal it and replace it. True?
Of course, and of course I would be extraordinarily happy to help with this. You know, health care is by far the most important thing that a person has. And, you know, this announcement of this big increase, this is just the first tranche. There's going to be several more. It's going to be completely unaffordable. It doesn't work. I think the people who put it together knew that it wouldn't work and that it would prime the people for acceptance of government-controlled single-payer system.
So how do we transition?
Fortunately, we've stopped that.
All right, so we're going to repeal it. How do you transition people back to it? How do you create free market health savings accounts with competition, with portability that allows for pre-existing conditions? This is not an easy task. Undoing this damage is going to be hard. Are you worried about transitional costs for people?
It's not an easy task, but, you know, we have models for how to do it. How to create health savings accounts using the same monies that we use to buy exorbitantly expensive health insurance. So that's just a matter of putting the pieces together. And once that is done, all you need then is your catastrophic health care, which is going to be much, much cheaper. The models are multiple. They will be worked out. It will be very easy for people to understand. And 80% of your encounters with the healthcare system are going to be between you and the system, not some third-party individual.
Yeah. One of the interesting things, I know this doctor in Wichita, Kansas, he actually set up his own cooperative, and he buys medicines in bulk. He is available, him and his team, 24/7 for everybody in the cooperative. They all save money. They all get better care. They all get cheaper medicines. Do you think you'd be able to institutionalize that all around the country or something similar?
Well, similar things, because, of course, if the relationship is between the patient and the healthcare provider, you're going to bring the whole medical system into the free market. And free market forces will control cost and quality. It will be much better in both of those instances.
Yeah. All right. Will you take a position if asked? Health and Human Services Secretary, Surgeon General, would you take those positions if asked? And have you been asked to take a position?
We're discussing these things. I personally feel that you can do a lot from outside, but if that were the only way that it could be done, obviously I'm going to do what needs to be done to assist.
So in other words, so you have discussed it. You can say it. It's okay. You can share it with me.
Yes, there have been discussions.
I happen to think it's a good choice myself. So you don't have to sell me on you, Dr. Carson. I'm a fan. All right. This is going to be a difficult transition, but one that's necessary before this thing totally blows up, which it's kind of imploding now of its own weight. Dr. Carson, thanks for being with us.
It's not going to be so difficult because it's going to be logical.
That's true. By the way, that's refreshing for Washington. Good to see you. Thank you, Dr. Carson.
I'm going to be speaking to the Congressional Health Caucus week after next to talk about some things, because it's very important that people put forward a plan. And the thing that I favor is using electronic medical records that are embedded in a microchip, not in cyberspace so that anybody can get it. And think about the savings. People know your allergies, your medications, whether there was a spot in your lung 5 years ago, just by popping it into the computer, and you maintain control of it. It saves us an enormous amount of money. All the dental records will be there.
Thank you.